So don't miss out
on Like and Share.
On Like and
and
Share.
share. Only here on INC Radio.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all our viewers here on INC Radio, Central Valley, California. We're so good to be back. From handwritten letters to emojis, slang to AI spell check, language is evolving faster than ever. For today's show, we're going to take a look into how communication has evolved over the years and what that means for our connections today. Whether it be sending those letters to our pen pals or thinking you've mastered the art of using emojis to create a sentence. We're going to keep it absolutely 100 only here on INC Radio, Central Valley, California. And today I have Andy, Elvie, Arnie, and Aiko here on the show. Say hi, everyone.
All right, so thank you so much for joining us, our amazing group of panelists. My name is Caitlin Bautista. I'll be your co-host for this evening. We have such an interesting discussion regarding language, just how Mark mentioned, and how it's changed over time. Please make sure to tune into INC Radio DZEM 954. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And Central Valley, California's shows are every Friday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is every Friday night at 9 p.m. Again, thank you all for your continuous support. And I'll pass it back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Caitlin. And so to begin our discussion today, everyone, we're actually going to go ahead and focus our conversation towards the older generation on our panel today. And so we want to really emphasize the communication from, the good old days of writing letters to your pen pals to using text messages or even using emojis in the way that we communicate to our peers or our family nowadays. And so to start our conversation, we have Andy and Elvie here, who are grandparents with their own grandkids, learning how to communicate with their grandkids on what they're doing, and even learning what they're doing with their technology. And so, Andy, Elvie, how are you doing today?
We're good, thank you.
And good evening to everyone.
Thank you so much for joining this show. And to kickstart off our conversation, like I said, you have grandkids, and I'm sure it takes a little bit of adjusting to be able to understand what's going on with your grandkids' technology and being able to adapt to the way that they speak. And so my first question, though, we kind of want to know from your experience growing up, right? What was the way that you communicated growing up, and how has that way of communicating stayed with you as you got older?
Well, for me, there's a big difference in communicating before and now with our grand kids, especially they're already teenager. Specifically on how they send their text messages unto me or even to my wife, because they are fond of using, those abbreviation. So sometimes it's so hard for me to understand what is it, like, like GTG or gotta go, or sometimes they say IDK. I don't know. Oh, I said, oh my, what are these abbreviation in their text? I have to review some, sometimes I Google from, or sometimes in YouTube, you can see those abbreviation. Oh, this is what they mean, I said. And the longest one is IMHO. Simple. It's very simple, but it's hard to, in my humble opinion, something like that. So, oh my, this is really hard, I said. So, what we are doing now is that in order for us to answer them, we will have to review first or Google first before we understand what they really texted us.
And I love that, Andy, because the fact that you're using Google to research what the abbreviations means, it's so awesome how you using technology to be able to understand what your grandkids are trying to text you. Alex from our live chat also says, I also have problems with abbreviations with a younger generation. So you're not alone there, Andy. You're not alone. LV, what about you? Growing up, what was the way that you communicated, and how has that stayed with you, and even trying to teach your grandkids the same thing?
Well, at this age, I realized that as grandparents, we should be flexible in learning how they communicate to us. But we have that kind of responsibility to teach them how to be responsible in their communication. If ever they talk to older people, there should be a respect there in one way or another. And when they talk to their peer groups, then that will be a difference. But we don't mind learning their language, but they have to choose the right communication words or way of relaying their feelings or comments. In that way, there is what we call a self-respect in their selves and respect also to the other people.
Now, I want to go ahead and actually, and I love that how we want to tie in this sense of respect with one another, being able to teach the younger generation that essence of respect, because we want to be able to give what we want to receive, and respect is such a it's something that we all want from not only our parents, from our family, but even from our peers. So that's great that respect is the essence of what we want to share, especially when it comes to communicating with one another. Now, I actually wanted to go ahead and ask Andy and LV, like, what were some experiences you remember growing up where that kids don't have to deal with nowadays? You want to go ahead and share some of that? We'll start with Andy first.
Oh, pardon, please.
So
Can you
yeah,
repeat?
so like, what's something as a kid growing up that you did, with your friends or talking to your friends that you don't see with kids nowadays?
Oh, during our times, you know, if you want to know some information, especially during our high school days, when you want to know some information from your friends or newly uh, just new in a class, something like that, uh, we used to have our own autograph. If you remember the autograph, the notebook, for us to know what are their hobbies, what are their sports, what's their favorite food, and what they want to become in the near future. So you can see now after signing the autograph, then you can see and you will be learn some information with regards to them. So now there's no autograph anymore, signing of autograph anymore.
And
And
I
you
know, I know, like, some of the youngins that I know, they don't do the whole yearbook signing, like that type of stuff, or they signing each other's paper or things, right? So there's
yes.
something that hasn't really translated over to this generation. Elvie, what about you?
During our time, there's no cell phone. So we have to have that kind of in-person communication. And for example, we have that kind of message to relay to our friends who are not around. Then we tell our close friend or who is present that we say, could you please relay this information like invitation or something like hanging out somewhere, going somewhere like that. So it's just a matter of relaying that message from one person to the other. So that's the way we communicate before. And we always talk eye to eye. But now it's like when you communicate to the younger generation, They just, okay, but they're looking at their gadget. So sometimes you have to say, could you please listen first and look at me if you understand or not, so that we can understand each other. And it's how you say something in order for them to kind of understand it. Because if, for example, you relay that message and the way you send the message, it's not what you are saying, it's how you say to them. That's the most important. If you say in a respectable way, then they will show respect. But if you say, are you not listening? Come on. They feel that kind of not only fear, but in a way they show respect, but on the other side or at your back, they will say, no, I don't like it. I don't like it. So communication is a two-way process, and there should be a show of kind of understanding, respect, and also acknowledgement. Because some kids, they will just say, I know, but they don't obey, right?
No,
So
and that leads into, you mentioned about kids, or the younger generation, just looking at their device and simply
yeah,
just autopiloting, answering yes instead of
yeah.
being present within the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think that everyone can relate to the youngins not being present within the conversation, especially at the dinner table if they're on YouTube
Yeah.
eating while they're on their phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's still the way that they communicate, and whether we like it or not, that's how they're being uh, conditioned to communicate within their generation, right? And so, as grandparents, um, how do you as grandparents adapt to that? Learning how the kids are in the digital world while maintaining that connection with them. I will start with you, Elvie.
Okay, with the new generation now, you have to try to emphasize, first of all, the limitation of their gadgets. Because someday, somehow, they are like addicted to it, and they don't have time to really identify what is their priority. They always say, no, this is important. But in the end, they realize it later that I should have not done that. So as grandparent, I always emphasize to them there is a limitation like hour to use their gadget, and also to be selective on what they are watching. If it's a learning or knowledge or new ideas or game that is really related to for their welfare, then I agree on it. It's not that I'm very strict to them, but I'm trying to tell them to be selective. Because if you just be liberal on what they are doing, they don't know that kind of choice to do to themselves. As young as they are now, you emphasize to them that this is the best for you, that will make you a better person later.
And Elvie, I'm so glad that at least we're able to still be able to be guided in that way. Especially from as the younger generation, we need that kind of firm love to be able to learn how to discipline ourselves, to remove ourselves from the technology whenever it seems like it's a little bit too much.
Yes, correct.
And so now we're actually going to go ahead and thank you so much, Andy and Elvie, for sharing your experiences when it comes to teaching your kids how to be disciplined in the use of technology, disciplined in the way that they communicate, and showing respect, and sharing your experiences with the audience on communicating back in the day, and how you were able to share those experiences with the youngins that you have, and teaching them to all the more be aware of what they're doing and being present in the moment. And so now we're going to go ahead and read some comments from our live chat. Caitlin, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Yes, of course. Also, I would like to say, Elvie and Andy, thank you for your perspectives. Myself and I know Mark and our panelists really value and respect your stories and how things change. If we want to know how times have evolved, it's of course from our parents and our grandparents. So again, thank you so much. So our Vine chat, so let's see what's going on over here from our very own Jill San Antonio. She said, that's been a common statement lately, not what you say, but how you say it. That's so important. And then from our very own brother Isaias Antonu, thank you so much to our special guests. So we all got a special shout out from our very own district minister. One from Romel Bautista, my dad. He says, tuning in from Bakersfield, my daughter teaches me new words all the time. I even catch myself saying her words sometimes. And I can fact check, very true. He sometimes says the words that I say sometimes. From Andre Fajardo, happy viewing, everyone. We love INC Radio. And from Sister Ruby De Los Reyes, shout out to all the brethren of Central Valley, California District from Delano Locale. Again, thank you to our Vine chat, our audiences for always supporting and tuning in. So now that we have read our comments, I would like to segue into our game, which is all about slang from way back then and slang now. So if we can pull up our game, please.
Caitlin, I'm not good at games.
It's okay. You know what? We're all here to try and we're all here to have fun. So if our panelists could go ahead and unmute themselves, we can go ahead and get into our game. So we're going to present a phrase to you all, and you're all going to try to guess what it means. So if we can go on to the next slide, and Mark, you can go ahead and read that first one.
Yes. So again, we're going to present this slang, and then you're going to determine what it actually means. So don't flip your wig. Well, all right, I'm going to go with AJ. What do you think does it mean?
To be honest, I don't know what it means. Don't stumble. Don't flip your wig. That's the first time I've ever heard of that phrase. I think I'll have to pass on that one.
All right, so let's go on to the next slide for the big reveal. Don't flip your wig means, what does it mean? It means to calm down. Like, hey,
Wow.
don't flip your wig. You need to calm down.
I've never heard of it too, AJ. Don't worry.
I feel like
That's
I see it
interesting.
sometimes. All right, let's go on to our next slide. The next one is no cap. No cap. I'm going to go with Aiko. What do you think no cap means?
I was hoping you would not ask me because like I heard that term before, but I don't know. I forgot. Somebody told me one time because I was like, what does that mean? So I'm just gonna guess like actually like no filter. I don't know.
Okay, that's a good guess. All right, what does no cap mean? It means not lying, or you're just being honest. You're being 100.
No cap. You know what I'm saying?
All right, let's go on to the next phrase.
And for our audience, please feel free to tune
Yes,
in and
feel
give
free to
your
join in.
responses in the chat as well. So our next phrase is threads. I want to ask Andy, do you know what this means? No? No? Okay. AJ, what about you? What do you think it means?
I would want to take a guess. Are you sewing? Are you sewing your clothes?
Oh,
Threads?
sewing.
Oh, so sewing. There you go. That's how you pronounce it.
Like suing, like the law.
No,
All right,
no.
what does threads mean? It means, drumroll, a stylish piece of clothing or outfit.
I was pretty close. I will have to give
That
myself a pat
was
on the
very
back.
close.
We'll read a couple more, and then we'll continue on with our segments. So the next one, I believe, is Caitlin.
Oh, I'm shook. AJ, what do you think this means?
I definitely know. I'm flabbergasted. I'm gonna.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it in words. In my definition, it's just he's surprised. There you go, surprised.
Yes, and is that what it means? I'm shook. Let's go on to the next slide. Yes, feeling surprised or emotionally affected, or in AJ's words, flabbergasted.
And for our last slang for this game, it's going to be that's square. Well, Aiko, I think we need to, because I don't know what this is, so you're gonna have to help me out here.
I don't know what that is either. But I'm guessing it's like that's not cool, like the opposite of being cool.
All right, opposite of being cool, uncool, and is that what that square means? Next slide. That square means, yeah, when something is boring. So it's not that cool.
Yeah, I've never heard half of these slang terms before, but hey, you learn something new every day, right?
Yes.
And you're able to add on to the language pool that you have every day as well. And so thank you everyone for tuning in and for joining us in our game. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next discussion, which is gonna be about the slang codes and cultural identity. And so I believe, Caitlin, well, what's our first question for our panelists today?
So our first question for our panelists is, what does the way you talk, your daily speak, what does it say about your generation? Or what does it say about your age group? And AJ, I'll start with you.
I would say the way we communicate and the way we talk is very much so different than before than now, since we have social media platforms, and it started all in COVID-19 and it got much worse from there, I would say, from my personal experience. Everyone is just on their phone, and as Lola and Lola said, it's hard to communicate with a person without their presence of mind in the conversation. And it's hard for me to talk to them because I like to talk like to eye to eye level, and that's how I've always been talking to people, since it makes me have the mutual respect, and I like it when they reciprocate the mutual respect that they give me and I give them.
Yes, of course. I love that answer. Aiko, how about you? What does language say about your age group?
I guess that, we use different kinds of terms before, and I think I still find myself using them unknowingly. So, I think it's different from the terms that they use now. But yeah, I think at one point we used them just to feel like we're a part of something or we're included with everybody else. But I think it is slightly different from the language they use now, because now when people speak, most of the time I'm just confused. And I have to ask, what does that mean?
Has AJ tried teaching you some slang that he knows? Or?
He makes fun of me. He says I'm old because I never know what he's talking about.
What? That is a lie.
Don't
That's
listen
a
to him.
lie.
He's constantly making fun of me. So he tries to
do
he
not.
speaks to me like that on purpose because he knows I don't understand it.
Well, after Aiko, to be completely honest, when we do say something, you completely forget about it on my behalf.
That's him saying I'm old again.
What?
But I do forget a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. When I'm talking to Mark, my kuya Mark, I would say stuff and he would be like, I'm confused. I don't know what that means. But it's just a learning moment for everybody.
Yeah.
And I also believe that like with daily speak and slang and talking, it also depends on the groups that we're in as well.
Mhm.
Also leading to our next question, how has the internet changed our way of speak, our way of language, our diction, our tone? And Aiko, we'll start with you. Like, how has the internet changed the way we speak?
For me personally, I think it's changed the way that I speak by like catching I guess I do catch terms that they use online because I do use the internet. I'm on social media. So I think it's affected my speech in a way where it helps me learn, I sort of, like I said, I always still have to ask because I'm still constantly confused when the younger generation speaks to me, but it does give me more information and it helps me to be more informed about what's going on and the kind of terms and phrases that they use nowadays.
Yeah, of course. I feel like with the internet, the resources are there, but it's just a huge plethora of things that sometimes some things can be misconstrued, some things can be misleading. And AJ, what about you? How's the internet changed the way of speaking and language?
I would say I could definitely relate to like even before it was very much formal, and now it's just full of abbreviation and like full of just informal stuff like gotta go and I don't know and stuff. So it's full of abbreviation, I would say. And I like how there's internet, unlike back in the day, it was you had to go to libraries to find information for school or stuff like that. But now you have just like one button away. You can find what's happening in the world, what to watch, who to text, who to call. But sometimes it gets misused. And that's where the teens in my generations are having a hard time in preservation of their self-control, because us, I would say, we're very curious and we're very open-minded to the world, and the social media just increases that, and it makes hard for us to stop and makes us sleep late at night.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, I think also like what was mentioned earlier, like it affects the way that we speak, but also like how we communicate with people. I do notice it even with myself, right? I try to limit the time that I use the internet or I'm on my phone, and I catch myself doing that even when I'm speaking with my parents, right? They're talking to me, but I'm looking at my phone. And so I try to kind of steer away from that. I don't like it when I'm speaking to somebody and their eyes are on their phone and they're just half listening. So I think it definitely has its downside, and it's kind of kept us from these life skills of like speaking to people in person or just having real conversations face to face.
And as we to come closer to the end of our show, right? We want to go back and say from the beginning where we talked about establishing that sense of self-discipline when it comes to the use of technology, and then of course that sense of being present in the moment, of wanting to be there when we actually have a conversation instead of using our phones or our screens, right? I want to ask Aiko and AJ one last question, and that would be, if you could say in one sentence, how do we teach each other to continue to learn and grow from this in a way where we're able to be better communicators together? We'll start with you, Aiko.
I think we teach it by modeling it, by practicing it every day. I know it's difficult, even if sometimes we do it without even knowing. So I think if we're constantly trying to make ourselves aware of how it works and just try to model that for others, I think that's how we can teach it to other people.
AJ, what about you? One sentence.
I would say that's a great what Aika said, but I would say practice, like how we should practice our communication and practice our faith, so that all the more, like, with each practice we would be better and we would have like a solution to our problems.
And I'm so glad that everyone on the panel today essentially had the same heart and the same goal when it comes to being better communicators together, and that's being able to try and to learn what we're going through and to learn the language that we speak, right? And with good practice, we'll yield good results. And I want to go ahead and thank AJ, Aiko, Andy, and Elvie for tuning in and joining us on our show today. We had a great show. I think everyone tuned in benefited from the conversation that we had. We want to go ahead and thank our INC radio station manager, Brother Wally Tarai, to our Deputy Executive Minister, Brother Angelo Arana Vimanalo, and of course, to our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo Vimanalo. Thank you so much, Paul, for all that you do, for guiding us in the way that we uphold our faith, and for leading us in the way that you do. So with that being said, thank you to everyone that's tuned into our conversation. We hope to see you next time here on INC Radio, Central Valley, California. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.